Good morning, everybody. You are live from Steepleview Farm. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. Glad to have you with us. Special shout out to a couple of young guys I see right there, Owen and Davis. Thanks for being on here today. Listen, guys, we are at that point in the year where the weather is starting to change. Things are starting to cool down. Your garden is starting to end for the season. And you've got to be wondering, man, I miss all of that activity outside. I miss all that activity in the garden. What can I do? How can I do something right now to get ready for winter and spring? We're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about what you can do right now, this time of the year, to get ready for winter that's coming and to get ready for next spring, which is right around the corner. But as we do every Saturday morning, let's take a look out the window and see what's going to be happening in our little neck of the woods. We are right here at the farm today looking out at a little bit of cloudiness. And you know where that's coming from? Hurricane Laura blew up underneath Texas and Louisiana, working its way up the Mississippi and Ohio River valleys, and a little bit of it has arrived. So let's take a look at the weather. Today, mostly cloudy, a little bit of rain tomorrow, more clouds, a little rain the rest of the week, almost all the way until the weekend as the remnants of this storm make their way past us. But take a look at those temperatures. You see that? See that toward the end of the week? Do you see where it's getting down in the 50s? Folks, I'm telling you right now, if you haven't started thinking about planting spinach, fall crops, things of that sort, those are the kinds of temperatures under which they thrive. Nighttime temperatures are actually more important to some of these cold weather crops than daytime temperatures. As long as they cool down at night, we're going to be in the 50s coming up pretty soon, and hopefully that'll get us to the point where we can grow some of those crops soon. Now let's take a look at what the old Farmers Almanac says. Is it time to plant? Oh, sorry guys, next few days are barren days, but they're fine days for killing plant pests. Now don't forget, a lot of the pests that will plague you next spring are going to overwinter in your garden. Now what's that mean? That means that they're going to go into the soil. They're going to grow into small caterpillars. They're going to live in the soil, but they got to have something to eat. What are they going to eat? They're going to eat garden debris, leaf debris. They're going to eat some of the old vegetation you've left behind. We're going to talk about that a little bit today, but think about how you're going to prevent the pests next spring by thinking about what you're going to leave behind for them to feed on this winter. Anyway, taking a look at the old Farmers Almanac, it looks like the 1st and 2nd are good days, and then again, not until the 6th and the 7th. So you've got some time to work on your garden, start thinking about spring, making some preparations for winter. All right, now I want to talk with you today about soil health. You know, we have been blessed by having had so many wonderful people come and visit us here at the farm this year. We've participated in Harvest Hosts. We've had, I think, somebody here 5 nights a week, and we're booked through the end of September. Always have room for more, so don't let that bother you. And we've had so many people come to visit, become new farm partners. And one of the things that I like to do when I'm talking with folks who visited the farm for the first time is explain to them that, when you look out and you see a tree, you see this beautiful, magnificent tree growing tall out of the ground, you think that's the tree. Well, in reality, if you were to take a look at a cross-section of that tree, really what is growing above the ground, there's as much root structure and other structures below the ground. In reality, all plants live below the ground. What you see above the ground is their snorkel. It's what they send up to get sunlight and to get carbon dioxide. Now, plants live on carbon dioxide. Plants strip carbon dioxide out of the air. They take the carbon out of it to feed on. They release the O2 from the CO2. They release the O2 back into the air, and the carbon then goes down to the roots through the vascular system of the plant. The carbon gets there through a process known as photosynthesis in the leaves, and that carbon becomes carbohydrates and sugars and feeds that part of the plant that's living below the ground. So what you see above the ground, and this is just a little illustration that I pulled off the internet today, what you see above the ground on a tree or any other plant is the snorkel. But look over the side of that tree there. You see those mushrooms growing? You would tend to think that mushrooms growing out of the ground are fungi. Well, they are, but unlike the trees, the vegetables, and the other growing things, what you see growing out of the ground in the nature of fungi, that's not really a snorkel. That's the fruit. You see, when a plant sends something up above the ground to get sunlight and carbon dioxide, that's also where it releases its seeds. Now, the seeds can be contained inside of a tomato, inside of an apple. They can be growing right on the end of the stem, like with wheat or other grains. They can be beans in a pod. But above the ground is where the seeds are developed, and then they go into the ground where they grow new plants. All sounds very simple, doesn't it? Except that what we don't recognize is that below the ground, there is an entire environment made up of more organisms by far than live above the ground. If you could possibly see underground the entire relationship between the roots of plants and the roots and the fungi living in the soil, you would realize that there is an entire environment below the soil, an entire colony of living organisms, microorganisms, macroorganisms, earthworms, bugs, beetles. There's also bacteria, fungi, and protozoa. There's all kinds of stuff in the soil. There's nematodes. Lots and lots of things living in the soil, by far a much bigger population of living organisms than lives above the soil. So when you're looking at a plant, think about what's in that soil. Folks, I have had so many people come and be completely unfamiliar with why the soil health of your garden or your farm is so important. But think about it this way. The grand architect of this entire environment knew exactly how to make things, knew exactly what to put in the soil, knew exactly what to create in order for this planet to thrive and for things to grow and for us to eat what grows and for us to be healthy. So in a nutshell, healthy soil makes healthy roots makes healthy plants, seeds, and fruits, which we eat, and that in turn makes healthy people. So this time of the year, at the end of your gardening season, it's a wonderful time of the year to be thinking about, how do I grow soil? What do I do in my garden to help grow soil this year? Well, you can actually add mycorrhizal fungi to your soil, but why not just invite back the fungi that's living out there that maybe has been crowded out? You know, it's not a stretch to say that through tillage, by plowing soil, using a rototiller, mixing the soil layers, mixing clay into the top, bringing up weed seeds, by building highways and parking lots and creating all kinds of man-made structures. We have created a tremendous amount of area on the surface of the earth that's inhospitable to living organisms. And that's by design. A lot of farmers farming in the conventional or traditional way will use chemicals, chemical fertilizers, chemical pesticides, chemical weed controls, and all of those things drive away, if not outright kill, all of these organisms that are at work making healthy soil. Well, think about how your soil's made. How did God intend for soil to be made? Every year in October, walk through the woods after the leaves have fallen. It's like walking through a knee-deep bowl of cornflakes, leaves up to your knees. Go back in February and they're gone. Well, where did they go? Everybody says, well, the bacteria ate them and broke them down. That's a shorthand phrase. That's what you might have been taught in grade school. But in reality, it's more than the bacteria. It's earthworms, it's bugs, it's other animals and insects. What they do is they consume the organic material that's been dropped onto the top of the soil, where they eat it, and anything that eats excretes. What these living organisms excrete is topsoil. And that topsoil is also filled with all kinds of microorganisms as the organic material passes through their digestive tract and is left behind. What's left behind is what we call topsoil. It takes about 100 years to build an inch of topsoil, but it takes a farmer about an hour with a plow and a disc and a rototiller to get rid of it, to mix it into the clay underneath and destroy it, to destroy the environment in which all of these living organisms thrive. All of these organisms that will work in symbiotic relationship with the fungi and the plants to provide nutrients to what you and I need to eat to be healthier individuals. Now, how can you create healthier soil? And the answer is to begin thinking about feeding the organisms in the soil. You know, it's easy to go to the box store and buy fertilizer to feed your plants, but that's not really the best stuff for the rest of the organisms in the soil. Most of those artificial fertilizers leave behind salts, excess amounts of calcium. They're strong. They're not healthy for the fungi. They're not healthy for the microorganisms that are actually eating the organic material. They don't eat chemical fertilizers. So you're actually doing harm. You're creating an inhospitable environment for some of these things to live. The best way for you this time of the year to start thinking about how to feed these organisms is to start making some compost. Now, here are a couple of compost bins that are being shown on a website by Boone County, Kentucky. One has fencing around it made out of chain link. A couple of them have some boards around it. I've seen people make compost piles out of pallets. A lot of different ways to make a compost pile. Compost, if done correctly, doesn't stink. You can put anything in a compost pile that's compostable. Paper towels, newspaper, coffee filters, coffee grounds, vegetables. Don't put meat products. Don't put dog manure. Don't put milk products. Don't put things like that. They don't compost well. The pathogens in them aren't healthy for what you're trying to do. Use organic material in your soil and make compost out of that right now, moving into the winter. When your fall leaves begin to get raked up, instead of burning them, compost them. And by spring, you'll have compost that you can use. In fact, in a matter of a few weeks, you'll have some compost you can use. And even if it hasn't fully composted, it's time to start thinking about using some of those broken down leaves in your garden. Where might you think about putting compost this winter? You know, October is the perfect month to plant garlic. We've talked about that before. In Zone 6, where we are here in this part of the country, it's the perfect time to plant garlic in mid-October. If you live north of the Ohio River. If you live in a colder climate, you want to start your garlic in September. But right now is the time to source your garlic. There's a variety of hardneck garlic that's grown in this part of the country called music. Source that garlic now. Source it from a farmer. If somebody is selling garlic at a farmer's market or selling garlic at their farm, buy it. Those individual cloves that you will see broken apart in the garlic, if you see those cloves, just break them apart from the big head of garlic, and when you plant them about 3 or 4 inches deep, little pointy side up, root side down, and get your garlic started now. The best thing to plant garlic in is well composted soil. If you've got a raised bed or a garden bed that you want to plant garlic in, plant it in composted soil. But once they're planted, it's a great idea to mulch the top of the soil with some of those leaves you're going to rake up. Your garlic will do fine below those leaves. The leaves will hold down weeds, and over the winter, they will break down. And once they break down, then you'll have even better soil in your garden. Now, if you're in a position where you don't have time to make compost, or you need more compost than you can make out of your own yard debris, here's a lady that I found who lives in Versailles, Kentucky, who started a compost business. She's composting barn waste from horse farms. It's been certified by the University of Kentucky. It's tested. It's temperature tested. The name of her business is Winnie the Pooh. This is Winnie the Pooh, the Composted Topsoil Garden Center, located in Versailles, Kentucky. This is her Facebook page. If you've got a wagon or a trailer, you can run down and get some. If you're within a reasonable distance or ordering a lot, they will deliver. Or if you need a whole lot, you can call a dump truck to come and pick up a bunch of the compost made by Winnie the Pooh in Versailles, Kentucky. I'm not affiliated with her. I get nothing from advertising for her. We've used her compost. It's getting better all the time. She's working very hard on improving the quality of the compost because she knows that around the Commonwealth of Kentucky, there are an awful lot of people just like you who are interested in improving the quality of the food they eat and the food they feed their children and grandchildren. Healthy soil, healthy roots, healthy fruits, healthy fruits, healthy you and me. Thanks for joining us today. Glad you could be with us. Hope you'll join us again 8:30 a.m. next Saturday morning. Until then, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and God bless.